Back with another episode of the March Madness podcast. I'm super excited for these games today, these two Final Four games. It feels like forever. I'm ready. I'm here. I'm introducing my friend, Chris. Chris, he works for ESPN Gainesville. He is a writer. He's been giving me some information about today's games, and I'm ready to go. First off, we got Houston, Baylor. Many people thought Baylor would be there. Well, they're here. Scott Drew has got them here once again. Baylor opens up at a 5-point favorite. Houston, a team that is the second seed. Many people thought they would be here. Well, they're here just like Baylor is. Should be a good game. I'm hoping for a good game, hoping not for a blowout. I'm going to stick with this one for a little bit. Exciting team, Chris. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to this game. Again, really happy to see March Madness back. Really realized how much we missed out on it last year with everything being canceled. Baylor's a great three-point shooting team, much better than this Houston team. They shoot the three at about 41%. But the one thing I would say that Houston has going for them, which is why this is a little closer than what Gonzaga UCLA is likely going to be, is their ability to offensive rebound. On the season, this Houston team has about 80 more offensive rebounds than Baylor does. So the offensive rebounding has given them a chance to come back in games and really push them ahead. The one thing I would say that Houston has that isn't looking too good for them, they haven't played a single-digit seed in this tournament at all. They opened up against a 15-seed Cleveland State, and then they went on to play Oregon State, which was a 12 seed. The highest seed they've played is a 10-seeded Rutgers team. So I don't know if they're ready for the caliber of team in Baylor, but I'm certainly thinking their offensive rebounding could make up for it.
No, great points, Chris. I'm interested to see what that Baylor those Baylor guys will do with Maceo Teague, Jared Butler, Mark Vital. Dude, he is their heart and soul. That team that I've mentioned before in previous episodes. But Scott Drew has always got those guys ready, as I said in my very first episode when the tournament first started. And it just seems like a Baylor Gonzaga saga. It just seems like it's going to happen. Baylor hasn't made the Final Four, and I think it's 71 years, which we weren't even alive. But I'm interested to see what Houston will do. They both play really fast paced. Houston's a great rebounding team, as you stated. Baylor not so good on the boards, but they can get hot at any moment. They got guys off the bench, as in Flagler, as in Maher. I mean, they got dudes all around. So it'll be interesting to see. I basically covered a bunch about that game, in previous episodes, but I'm going to stick with my prediction in Baylor. Who are you going with, Baylor or Houston?
I'm going to stick with Baylor on this one. I think
that's a fair one.
They played against some real good teams so far in the tournament, and they've got a real good resume from the regular season as well. And with Houston not having that competition up to this point in the tournament, I think Baylor's going to get off to a real hot start and dominate Houston from the beginning. Houston might make a push as they get more into the game, but I don't think it's going to be enough to beat the Baylor Bears.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. I think it'll be a good game. I think Baylor will pull away late. I don't think they'll give them it's hard to say if they'll give them as a good game as Villanova did, for Baylor. But I think it'll be a good game. Two good coaches going up at it, Kelvin Sampson and Scott Drew. Moving on to Gonzaga and UCLA, the West Coast. We're thinking, whoa, what the heck? Why is the Pac-12 team still here? While they're here, Michigan blew it. I'm still disappointed about that game. I still can't believe it. Michigan blew it, dude. They had so many opportunities. I've never seen so many opportunities in my life for a college basketball team in a March Madness tournament for how many opportunities they had in the end. Wagner had 2 opportunities. Mike Smith had an opportunity. Some people are thinking, as I said in the last episode, what the heck? You could have gone to Shawnee Brown. He was really hot down the stretch. What Livers could have done if he was there. Well, don't want to focus too much on them. They're gone. It's UCLA, Gonzaga. It'll be a good game, I think. I'm going to go with Gonzaga as I'm early going on to the prediction here early, in the first segment of the show. I just don't see UCLA putting up the points. I don't think Johnny Juzang will put up 28 points like he did last game. I just don't think they have the firepower. And if they can't score at will like Gonzaga does, Gonzaga can beat you in so many different ways. They're so good fundamentally. They got stars all around. I think Drew Timmy's going to have a field day on that glass. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, UCLA has certainly been the Cinderella in this tournament, but the reason I think they've gotten this far isn't necessarily, yes, they've played very well, but the teams they played against haven't played their top game. I
I
mean,
agree.
Wagner came up way off on that potential three. It was, yeah, Michigan throughout the entire tournament never really impressed me. They
Yeah,
had a few impressive points against Florida State, which is what I think would be their best game, just because that was the best competition they played. But
I agree.
Gonzaga is a whole different beast. I mean, UCLA, give them credit being the 11th seed. They played into the tournament. Now they're in the Final Four. I would say the only chance they have, and these are a couple notes I have, is that in the few games that Gonzaga was close, and by the definition of close for Gonzaga, it's a bit more of a spread than a lot of other teams. But the close games that they had, they can't let Kispert and Timmy be the leading scorer. And this is from a pure analytical perspective. There were
Yeah,
5 games this season that Kispert and Timmy were not the leading scorers. 2 of them came against BYU, and in games that BYU could have won, arguably. There were points where
yeah.
in the conference championship, BYU was up at halftime. They have to force the ball to Jalen Suggs. And I say this from the perspective of this isn't that Jalen Suggs is not good. Jalen Suggs is a lottery pick. He's a great player.
The top three pick.
Yeah, but put the pressure into the freshman's hands. Keep them, and this is going to be hard because Kispert is a long-range shooter, and Timmy's going to dominate you from the inside. So
Yeah,
again,
I
this is
agree.
from pure analytics. Is that in those 5 games where either Jalen Suggs or Ayayi led in scoring, it was
Hmm.
a 5-point win against West Virginia, which West Virginia is a very good team, and then 2 11-point victories, an 11-point victory and a 10-point victory against BYU. And that isn't because Jalen Suggs didn't go off. He scored 24 points in the first meeting with BYU, and the second meeting he put 23. But if you, for some reason, if you put the ball into Jalen Suggs' hands, the game is just a little bit closer. I don't know
I
how
agree.
UCLA is gonna do it. I have absolutely no idea. This is pure analytical. But
Yeah.
if they could do it, they might. You never know.
No, I'm with you. I think you brought up some great points there, analytics wise. As we talked about earlier in the show, you're hitting us with analytics. I'm loving it, man. It's good for the people who don't really understand UCLA Gonzaga because not a lot of people get to watch West Coast games. I mean, UCLA and Gonzaga, I don't think they've played this season, but it's good to bring up those analytics. It's super important people actually understand, what they're watching if they want to learn a team. And Gonzaga, UCLA should be a fun one. I think Gonzaga will. I don't want to say pull away late. I just think they'll control the pace of the game and it'll be like, 10 to 12 point game for the most part. UCLA may make a small run with Jules Bernard or Johnny Juzang or, Tiger Campbell. They got a couple guys that could put something together. I just don't think they have enough firepower. Moving on from March Madness, it's coming to a close Monday. It's weird that these two games are back to back like this. I'm happy that it's 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock. It's not so late because I can actually get to bed and catch that Lakers Clippers game tomorrow. I'm going to talk about the Lakers here, not too far off from now. But dude, the NBA. I mean, it feels like it's just so the season's been so weird. The Lakers aren't the 1 seed. The Nets have gone out and got everybody from to Aldridge to Harden to any guy that wants to play for the Nets. I mean, God, hey, you want to just sign me? I'll get a jersey, put Nets on me right now. But no, the Warriors. I'm staying on the West Coast where I'm going to be for most of the rest of the show, dude. They were down 60 at one point. I mean, what the heck? They ended up losing by 53 to the Tampa Bay Raptors, who I call the Tampa Bay Raptors because they play in Tampa now. I know. So you're thinking, what? No, Tampa Bay Raptors. Dude, they were down 60 at one point. And it's funny because Klay Thompson was tweeting. He was posting videos on Instagram earlier that day, him shooting the lights out in the gym and stuff, hoping he comes back from his Achilles injury soon. But man, that's just funny to see from a team that went to so many championships and dominated the league for years and had a target on their back for so many years, and some teams and players still hate because the way how long they dominated. But what do you think about that loss last night, man? I never expected that from Steve Kerr and the Warriors.
Okay, yeah, it's one thing to lose with. I mean, Steph didn't play, Draymond didn't
Right.
play for injury purposes, but to lose by 60. I mean, they were down by 60, they didn't lose by 60, but I mean,
Yeah.
it really begs the question of what is this team without Steph Curry and Klay Thompson? I mean, you got Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman, Kelly Oubre, and it's
Uber's been a
none of that.
disaster. He's been a
None of
disaster. He's been
yeah. I mean,
averaging 15 points per game, but he's been a disaster. He can't even hit a three in the games I've watched.
Yeah, no, none of those players excite me on offense or defense. I mean, without Steph Curry to provide some boost and Draymond to provide a boost in terms of his passing ability, defensive ability, that team is nothing, man. I mean, if I could honestly say if you put this Gonzaga team against a Warriors team without Steph and Draymond,
Yeah.
I would think Gonzaga would probably win. Honestly, I mean,
Yeah, it's hard to say because those guys. I mean, like you're bringing up a good point. I mean, they've made that conversation in previous years of like when the Browns sucked and it was Alabama how good they've been in previous years, and obviously they won the championship last year. But
mhm.
it's just so tough to say that. I mean, it's a good point, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on the Warriors. The last thing I do want to say, and I want everyone to listen to this. I think it's time for the Warriors to just blow it up. The trade deadline's over. You didn't get Oladipo. You're not going anywhere. I don't think you're going to make the 8th seed. Just blow it up and just do what you got to do for the rest of the season and just play for the draft pick. And some Warriors fans and GMs around the league are like, well, why did they draft Wiseman? Well, he was there. They needed a big man pretty bad. I mean, it would have been interesting to see if they would have drafted LaMelo. I mean, man, honestly, I don't think it would have been a bad idea. Big market. He likes the Hornets. He's playing for MJ. I don't want to focus too much on LaMelo, but dude, I honestly think that with him, they could have made some serious noise in the West. Who knows, right?
Good point. Good point. I mean, I like the Weissman pick. I think James Weissman has a lot of room to improve, and especially in a lineup that would have Steph and Clay eventually at some point. I think Weissman was going to be a good fit. But I do agree with blowing it up for this draft. I think there's a whole lot of talent in this draft.
Oh, I agree.
Much better than last year's. Last year's draft, I didn't think was going to be that great, and we haven't seen too much in terms of a lot of the players within the lottery haven't made too much noise. LaMelo was making the most noise, and then he got hurt.
It's
So
basically
now I
been
guess
him and Anthony Edwards.
yeah.
I
So
mean,
now I guess Anthony Edwards is going to win probably Rookie of the Year just because of that.
which is unfortunate because LaMelo did deserve that, and then he had to break his wrist.
Mm-hmm.
But those Ball brothers, man, they're made of glass. I mean, Lonzo can't stay healthy. I mean, he's been playing really well when he has been healthy. Don't really want to talk much about the Ball brothers. They're in the news too much, but the Warriors, man, I'm disappointed for a team that's been so dominant for years. I mean, just play the kids, play Nico, play Jordan Poole, play all those guys, man. I mean, you're not going to win this year. I mean, play for the draft pick. If they draft a guy like Kispert or another 3-point shooter, because the Warriors thrive off 3-point shooting. They're not going to pound you on the glass. They're going to beat you from outside. They're an outside scoring team. That's just the type of team they are. Done with the Warriors. I'm staying on the West Coast. I'm moving on to those Phoenix Suns, those Los Suns. Whoa, man. They look deep. They look loaded. They don't have – Devin Booker's a star. I don't know if he's a superstar. He got that max contract. He's kind of a, he's a great player. He jacks up shots, when he wants to. But Chris Paul is leading the way. He ended up finishing last night with 17 and 12. They blew out the Thunder, who actually the Thunder have 34 draft picks over the next, I think, like 7 years, 17 first, 17 second. Sam Presti's a god. He's a genius. But, I mean, who knows what they'll do with those picks. Staying on the Suns, they had 4 players in double figures. They look good. They are the second seed. What do you think? What do you think of the Suns? Do you think they can they make some noise in the West? Are they right there with the Jazz, Lakers, and Clippers, or the Rolling Nuggets, who are 4-0 in their last 4 games?
I think they certainly match up with the Jazz well from the fact that the Suns and the Jazz are both really well all around. I think this year I loved the Chris Paul move. I think the Chris Paul move was great. Allowed Devin Booker to be more of a catch and shoot or a catch and a couple dribbles
I agree.
guy instead of being a point guard. They really got a true point guard, which has really allowed for DeAndre Ayton to thrive as well.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, I think Chris Paul is having a very underrated season. I mean, I was looking at some of his stats, and he has his highest field goal percentage since his 08-09 year with New Orleans. He has his highest 3-point percentage since the 17-18 season with the Clippers, and his highest free throw percentage is in his entire career. Wow. So he isn't taking as many shots, but his efficiency on his shots is incredible, absolutely incredible.
And efficiency is huge, especially if you want to make a championship run. Some people have, thought DeAndre Ayton, what is he doing? He's just a guy from Arizona who got paid a bunch of money. Is he really good? He was really good in high school. He was dominant at Arizona, but he really couldn't find his way into the league for, he was, top pick for the Suns. But with Chris Paul, that addition, man, that's been huge. I think Monty Williams has got a great locker room going for those guys over there, man. I mean, they had Jeff Hornacek. He didn't do jack squat. But Yeah, man, the Suns are interesting. They're loaded. They're deep. They just all 12 guys play. I mean, I haven't seen that since like the Spurs when they were playing the Heat in like 2013. Most teams don't run with 12 guys. I mean, the Lakers run with, LeBron, AD, and Kuzma, and the rest of your guys from Beverly Hills over there. But the Suns, man, they're an interesting team. I'm moving on to the Jazz, dude. They have been hot, 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 feeling hot, hot, hot. They have won 21 straight home games. I mean, dude, what the heck? Um, they've been shooting the lights out all year. I mean, I think they're averaging 17 threes a game, if I'm not mistaken, and they're on a 7-game win streak. I don't know who's going to beat them for the rest of the way. I think they're seven. It's a 72-game season. I think they're going to end up winning probably 55 to 58, maybe even 60 games. I mean, that's kind of unheard of when you think about there's only 72 games. There's only 72 games this season. But man, they're hot. It's all about Donovan Mitchell. They're playing really well together as a team. But I think if that 3-point shooting starts to cool down, I think they're going to start to come back down to earth.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
take it away.
they are going to run into some trouble if the 3-point shooting goes away. They do move the ball very well. The one problem I will say is that if they do run into a healthy Lakers team or a fully healthy Nuggets team, defensively, I don't think they'll be able to keep up on that side. And we'll get into the Lakers later, but the Jazz offensively, really efficient, great. And they have a really great defensive player in Rudy Gobert, but can you defend LeBron? Who on that team is going to defend a player like LeBron, a player like Anthony Davis, Andre Drummond?
Yeah. Not only that, because you got guys. I mean, Gobert is a great defender. Nothing against him, but I mean, you don't even have to throw LeBron. Now you got Drummond. I'm throwing Drummond on Gobert. I mean, maybe AD. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, even if AD's not fully healthy, I mean, who knows? But I'm glad you brought up the Nuggets. I didn't write that in my notes, but man, they've been so hot as of late. I mean, Aaron Gordon, the addition to him has been huge. They dumped off Gary Harris, who was streaky with them. I mean, Jamal Murray's a stud, man. I mean, he needs some more recognition. I mean, I know obviously everybody knows who he is as a player, but what he does down the stretch for that team is massive. I was watching that Clippers Nuggets game the other night or Thursday night, and he was hitting big shots down the stretch, dude. I mean, he made it. It was 98-90. Clippers thought they were back in it with like a minute left. He hit that big mid-range shot for them. He hit a couple threes. I don't remember what he finished points wise, but man, I mean, and Michael Porter Jr. has been rolling as of late, dude. I think that's a scary team because they're a wild card team because you don't know what to expect with them. One night they could be hot, next night they could be cold, but as they've been consistent this past week, winning 4 straight, they're a force to be reckoned with, man. They could definitely jump up in the 3 seed in the West.
And you mentioned all those great names, and the one name we didn't mention was Jokic, and that's insane to me. I mean, they're full of talent. And the great thing about Jamal Murray, super clutch, super clutch. We saw it in the bubble last year. He performed at his top along with people like Booker and Chris Paul. Famously is very good in clutch time. I think Jamal Murray's right up there with them. And then the one thing I will say about the Jazz before we go on is that they can do it through any single person. I mean, in terms of players that have led their team in scoring in certain games, you got Donovan Mitchell, Bogdanovich, Gobert, Clarkson, who I think is the 6th man of the year. O'Neal has led for their team. I mean, they've had multiple players lead their team in scoring from the bench to the starting lineup. And for a team that has the least variations of the starting lineup in the league, I think that's great to see.
I'm glad you brought that up because last year and I think the year before, or actually no, when COVID first hit, Gobert was a goofball and ran around and we didn't know what the heck he was doing. And Donovan Mitchell was so mad. They wanted to blow it up and they were, the bubble came, but man, they are playing together as a team. Quinn Snyder has got those guys ready to go. I mean, they're just looking like a really, really good 1 seed. But I'm not going to count out the Nuggets. I'm not going to count out the Clippers. I'm not going to count out the Lakers nor the Suns. The Jazz, you got the 1 seed for now, but the rest of those West teams are coming. The West is stacked once again, like it always has been. But staying on the West Coast, I haven't brought up the Bucks. The reigning MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo last night ended up with 47 and 12. I think they're still on their road trip. Lillard actually had 30 points. No surprise there, Dame Dalla. Bucks get the dub. Many people think that Giannis shouldn't have signed that contract. He should have waited, but he decided to stay. Can they give the Nets a run for their money?
That's a tough question right there. I like the Bucks. I like Giannis a lot, but the moves that they've made haven't
I know.
prepared them to play a superstar team. We
No,
saw it in the bubble last year. They lost to a Miami Heat team
that was embarrassing.
that was nowhere near the caliber of this Brooklyn Nets team. I mean, the one
No,
thing I would say they have going for them is that Giannis has stayed healthy. For the Nets, KD hasn't stayed healthy.
he
Kyrie's been
hasn't
kind of iffy.
exactly.
James
Hmm.
Harden's been leading that team. If it's just James Harden's Nets versus the Bucks, I think they can take them. If it's a fully healthy Kyrie,
Yeah.
KD, and now you got Blake Griffin and Marcus Aldridge, I don't see any reason why I should think that anyone in the East can take that team.
I don't really want to talk too much about the Nets. I mean, hey, I mean they could sign you or I and put a jersey on, and we can be hanging out with Lil Baby and a bunch of the rappers at the game, and throw us in and see who's going to make the shot for them because they've got every guy. Maybe somebody from the Brooklyn Bridge can hop on that team. But man, the Bucks, they're doing their thing. They did end up winning last night. Staying on the West Coast, I'm moving on. I got my guys in the back. You might be like, "Oh, what? The yellow hat, the purple, the purple and gold. They're right there. I'm still here. Not going anywhere. I'm bringing up the Lakers real quick. Kyle Kuzma, he ended up with 30 points last night. I know you're thinking the Kings. Well, De'Aaron Fox has been really good as of late. 5 players ended up in double figures. Really not an important game. They really need AD and LeBron back. And actually, Mr. Toenail just got hurt. Andre Drummond. I don't know what the heck happened with him. Some people think he's made of glass. The Lakers basically signed him for a bag of chips. I don't even know what the contract was, but we'll see how they pan out without AD and LeBron for the next couple weeks. Not going to talk too much about them. I'm going to move on to Gasol. I'm going to stay right where I'm at. Gasol, man, he's super unhappy about his role, and he thinks he's the C option. He's the third option now with Drummond and AD. I don't know where else he would go. I mean, I'm confused because it doesn't seem like there's really much of a role for him. I mean, he hasn't really done much for the Lakers, throughout the season. I think he's averaging like 5 points a game. He's hit some big threes when they've needed him. But I'm kind of disappointed. When I saw that notification on my phone last summer, I was like, whoa, the Lakers signed Marc Gasol. Yeah, but you're getting like the D minus C plus Marc Gasol from the Raptors, who doesn't really look like he wants to play anymore. Frank Vogel came out and said he's a big part of our team. We really need Mark. We don't want him to go anywhere. I mean, Pelinka has done a great job with signing all these guys. He did go out and get Marc Gasol. I mean, they didn't sign him for much. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of in the mix of like, do you move on from him? But I mean, Vogel said they should keep him. What do you think?
Yeah, well, especially right now, especially with Drummond getting hurt, AD's
Yeah,
hurt. I mean, definitely keep him. The one thing I would say is I'm surprised that Marc Gasol is surprised by the fact that he's not getting the role, the starting
I
role
agree.
or any major role.
Right.
I thought that when he signed, he was going there to try and get one of those free rings, add
I
to the
agree.
resume.
I
I
agree.
mean, I figured it was one of those. It's towards the end of his career. He wants to go to a team with championship possibilities. I thought that was the role that he was signing up for. Obviously, it is a little bit of a blow when they go and sign Andre Drummond, so that kind of takes away from your playing time.
Yeah.
I figured that was the role he was signing up for.
He's a great player. He's a great player. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. I wouldn't necessarily put him in that conversation yet. I mean, maybe he wins a second ring. I don't know, but it's just something that I can't wrap my head around. There's certain things, you're like, what the heck? Why is that player doing that? Or what is that? Why didn't Aaron Rodgers run that run it in against the Bucks in the NFC Championship game? Well, it's the same thing with Marc Gasol. Why did the Lakers sign him? I think for defensive efficiency, I mean, you could have kept JaVale McGee, could have kept Dwight Howard, but Marc Gasol, he's a threat from the outside. He's got, he's a better free throw shooter than both those guys. I mean, he's a solid center. I don't think he's a starter. I think, he'll give you a good 10 to 12 to 14 to 16 minutes a game, somewhere in the 10 to 16 minute range mark. But Drummond's their guy. They wanted him. He cleared waivers with them. He's on the team now. As long as he can get healthy and as long as this Lakers team can stay healthy, I don't see why they couldn't push for another championship and go back to back,
Yeah, for sure. And the one thing about the Lakers is that they've really gone against what the typical NBA team is going to now, in terms of a small ball team, a 3-point shooting team.
Yeah.
And when you look at the Lakers roster, this team is gigantic. I mean, you got Anthony Davis, LeBron, Drummond, Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, Morris, Gasol are all above 6'7". I mean, and those are players that are consistently in the rotation. So there's no small ball team for this lineup. They're going big. They're going to body you. They're going to bully you down low. And I think they're just going against what the typical NBA team has gone to, and they're going to make the most of it, which is why I think the Andre Drummond signing, it fit right into their plan.
Absolutely right. Chris, great job. I want to give you a quick shout out. Thank you for coming on the show, man. It was lovely having you. Keep doing your thing with ESPN Gainesville. Always a pleasure having Gators on the show, as we're both Gators. Don't really want to talk too much about our Gators, even though we blew it in the tournament, but we hit on March Madness. We hit on the NBA. We talked about the Brooklyn Nets from all the guys from the Brooklyn Bridge that are coming on to us, getting our jerseys, on the signings, But yeah, excited to have you on, man. More than welcome to come on anytime you want. You provided great analytics, provided great facts. Always a pleasure, man. And guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. This goes on TikTok, Spotify, Anchor, all of the above. And until next time, peace.
Where are you now that I need you?